The train is coming, baby. The train is coming now. This episode of Moonlight Kingdom Reviews, dear Moonlight citizens, we will be reviewing the Wesley Snipes, Woody Harrelson action comedy Money Train. Stay tuned. In 3, 2, 1, boom. All right, as we get into this view, let's give a rundown on this here film. This is the old Money Train. This film is directed by Joseph Rubin, starring Wesley Snipes, Woody Harrelson, Jennifer Lopez. Made by Columbia Pictures and released in 1995. For some background, this film was originally set to be directed by Tony Scott. Catherine Zeta-Jones was offered a role in this movie, but turned it down because she didn't want to do a nude scene. Cameron Diaz was also interested in this movie, but also didn't make the cut as the studio chose to go with J-Lo instead. J-Lo, contrary to what some may say, contrary to, well, what is being said currently with the release of that movie Atlas that she's in, J-Lo wasn't always, a hit or miss actor. As long as she wasn't in the main character role and she was a supporting role, she was pretty good in some movies, Geely not being one of them. But, just movies like this, basically. This is one of the few movies where, like, J-Lo actually works pretty well in the terms of her character. Anyway, moving that to one side. So, yeah, with a runtime of 110 minutes, a box office budget of 68 million, this movie made a total of $77.2 million at the box office. Ouch. That's it broke even. I'll give it that much. It made back its budget and then some. So yeah, I'll give it that much. It was. Anyway, so yeah, this is the second film where Woody Harrelson would play a character that owes money to some gangsters. The first being White Man Can't Jump, and he would play a gangster who's owed money in Out of the Furnace, proving that you either die a hero or you live long enough to be the villain. Yeah, personally, I got fond memories of this movie. Watching it as far back as I would watch it on cassette as far back when I was a kid, way back in like grade R. Plenty of '90s movies I would watch back in the day. Movies like like this, Money Train, Above the Law, Under Siege. Basically, a lot of like Van Damme, Stallone, some Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis, and such. There's a lot of great action movies that I watched back in the day on cassette. When I was a kid, and this is definitely one of them. So yeah. Anyway, let's get into the actual review of the film. There's some background on it. Let's get into the review itself for Money Train. Okay, the film online is listed as an action crime movie, but given the dynamics between Snipes and Harrelson, it's more a crime comedy. There's plenty of funny moments between the two from the beginning of the film to the very last scene, even in the midst of all the action, and it's what really makes the movie for me. This film sees Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson playing these two transit cops, MTA, for transit cops in New York City. So, with Woody Harrelson playing the character of Charlie, who plans to rob the titular money train, and his brother is played by Wesley Snipes, the brother John, aka Hook, who's trying to look out for him and protect him from his own, self-destructive ideas, whether they be his gambling problem or the train robbery, until the midpoint of the movie where he just can't take it anymore. It's a classic thing, older brothers in movies do, where like the older brother in the movie go through, where they're perpetually looking out for the younger sibling because, like, they promised their mother or whatever. And this stretches all the way into adulthood till they get to a breaking point where it's like, damn, man, all I do is try to look out for this guy and he keeps messing up. You know what? I'm done. Let him make his own mistakes. Screw it. It does get to that point, and realistically so. But, like, yeah, I'll get to that later. Mark Mancini does the score for this movie. He'd later go on to do the score for movies like Speed 2. And we get a short scene in this movie where Patterson orders the train be sent through because, in his words, nothing stops the money train. Like, is this great scene? Like, oh, the two cops are in the tunnel chasing a criminal, and he's like, oh, why'd the train where's the revenue train? Oh yeah, it stopped. It stopped so that the cops can get this guy safely and not worry about running over or whatever. He's like, send it through. But sir, we got cops down the tunnel. Send it through. Nothing stops the money train. And it's this this theme, there's this villainous sting right there, like duh, right when he says that, and gives a sense of foreboding to that line. And the train itself, the actual money train, when the film cuts to the money train, it has its own theme that kicks in like big time when it's on screen. And then once it cuts to something else, the theme just fades out and the regular movie score kicks in. It really shows off like the grandiose nature of the train, and plus the train itself looks great. It's all shiny and stuff with like the flashing lights, and it's got like this real chrome look to it. It looks like an armored subway train, basically. Like and it moves really fast. It's really fast. So anyway, so yeah, the two cops are chasing this criminal down the tracks, and as they get to this one train station, the criminal runs directly into the path of these collection cops collecting money, and the cops shoot this kid to pieces. Because they had orders to stop anybody who comes near the train. Anybody who comes in the train who's not one of the cops or anything, they have orders to like take them out because they might be trying to rob the thing. Same thing with like armored cars or whatever, like guards in armored cars. Why they wear all that padding and carry those big assault rifles is so they can stop people who are seeking to rob them. That's kind of what happens here. So it isn't after it's after the shooting that the movie probably introduces its primary villain, which would be Chief Patterson, played by Robert Blake, and he's basically evil Vince McMahon. I don't know how to describe this better. This guy is basically evil Vince McMahon, or regular Vince McMahon, if by today's standards, if the recent reports are to be believed. Which, given the ongoing legal ramifications and all that, they most likely are. Whatever. And he's clearly the villain because when they enter, like he talks to them like with his back to them while he's facing a window, and he's got his hands behind his back, like a typical suit wearing movie villain, like monologuing some shit. Like he's not even looking at them when they enter; he's looking out through the see-through window, and I'm like, what are you looking at? This is just the office that you're usually in. This is the view you see every day. Normally, in like a villain movie, when a villain does this, they're in like some high-rise building looking out over the city or something. But like, no, you're looking out. You're still indoors, dude. What are you looking at? But anyway, yeah, he's the typical the movie villain, suit wearing movie villain, and yeah, he plays the role pretty well. I like how when Patterson says he's talking about like the money train, he's like, it's my train, my people, my money, and when he says that, like Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson look at each other at the same time, like right behind his back, and they look at each other like, "Are you hearing this? Like, are you hearing this crap?" Like, almost it's like when they look at each other like, "Is he for real?" Like, oh, it was great. Even after like they let Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes let him know like, hey man, like your guys they shot this kid to pieces, man. Like, was this really necessary? And Patterson's like, you're damn right they shot him to pieces, and he's a damn hero because now the word is out. Like he didn't die in vain. The word is out that if anyone goes near my train, I'll kill him. That's what's gonna happen. You step to my train and you're going down. That's it. Like you're dismissed. And he wants to use like this dead kid as like his warning to criminals everywhere. Like, see what happens when you try to mess with my train. Like, get on out, you're dismissed. And afterwards, we kind of see like the seedlings of idea when Charlie and, you know, John are discussing like, hey, what we should do to this guy? What? And then John's like, I would like to take his precious little train, like the little model train that he played with while he was monologuing. I'd like to take his precious little train, take the pacifier right out the baby's mouth. He's like, come on, and Charlie's like, all right, man, let's do it. Like, nah, dude, come on, we're not really gonna take the trade. Charlie's like, too late. It's already, he's already got it. He was like one step ahead. He's already got it. Like, too late. And it kind of, it's kind of foreshadowing almost because, it's like, damn, how does he stick it to Patterson? He takes the money train. And then later in the movie, like, John is like, man, don't actually take the money train. But in the movie world, it's like, too late. I'm already on the way to the robbery. I've already planned it out in my head. Too late, man. But yeah, man, back in the 90s, if you wanted to dangle someone off a ledge in a movie, you actually had to dangle a dude off a ledge. Why I say this because there's a scene where like Charlie, he's playing a card game. The movie establishes he has a gambling problem. He's playing a card game with some dudes, and they because he doesn't have any money on him. I don't understand how the hell you play cards with someone who has no money. I don't understand how the hell you can bet anything with no money. How the hell does this happen? Like, I, you can tell I don't gamble, so I don't understand how someone can like bet money they don't have. Like, I thought it was like a casino or something. When you give the chips, those chips were representative of like money you actually converted to chips, and yet in this somehow at this card game, Charlie was able to bet even though he didn't have money, and he like put his watch up as collateral, like, and then it just cuts to them dangling him off a roof and being like, your brother better get here with the money soon, or he's gonna be an only child. I'm just thinking, this is a terrible idea. No, him being here is a terrible idea entirely, because like, wait a minute, man, like, how you play cards with someone without knowing if they got the money to pay up? Like, isn't that like an entry fee or something? Like, don't you have to put some money down in order to play cards to show that yes, you do in fact have some money? Damn, man. Like, but whatever. So John shows up and he makes a deal with the dudes. Like, hey, there's this funny scene where he's like, and they're dangling him. He's like, yeah, I got like $300 on me, and then dude goes, nah, he owes 15,000. Like, what? 15,000? And Charlie's paying him like, come on, man, this is no time to be cheap. And then John is like, you know what? Drop him. He's like, no, hey, he's kidding. No, I am not kidding. I'm tired of this crap. Drop him. And I love the one henchman, like the main henchman, when he hears dude say drop him, he's like, you the man. He's like, motions the guy to drop the guy. Because you can tell he's been wanting to get rid of him. Probably like, he's been waiting for the opportunity to get rid of him somehow. And he's just like, you the man. Taps the dude like, okay, drop him. No, no. Ah. Oh, I love this movie. This movie's great, man. This movie's hilarious in so many places. But yeah, this is definitely, you know, one of those places. So, then John makes a deal like, okay, how about this? You take this 300 and the rest, like, he'll pay you in a couple of days. Like, well, we could, we'll figure something out. Like, we're not going to skip town on you. We will pay back, every bit of it, all 15,000 of it in a couple of days. Like, so just, yeah, he buys him a little bit of time with that one. Uh, moving onwards. The day after, like, they go back to work. This is the same day that the character played by Jennifer Lopez is introduced, Officer Grace Santiago. She becomes a part of the team. And it's like, oh, cool. And they both immediately take a liking to her. Like when she gets in the car with them, like the big van that all the transit cops travel in. They both like once they're like, oh hey, how you doing? Welcome aboard. The moment they turn around, they're both like, God damn, she is fine. This job is looking up. I'm like, bro, she is one row behind you. She could totally hear all this. She totally heard all of that. Just saying. But whatever, man. So the thing is, at the beginning of the movie, Woody Harrelson went undercover as a drunk and like pretended to be passed out in the train station. So to see like basically to see people come up and basically inviting people to come up and rob him. The transit cops are keeping an eye out for people who like pickpocket people who just they basically on lookout for thieves. So yeah, and yeah, so Woody Harrelson, when that chase ensued, he was playing the undercover drunk, and now this time it's John who's playing the undercover drunk. And instead, like thieves, these two plus size women show up, and they try to abduct them. Thing is, he can't snap out of it like, okay, hey, stop, get off me. I'm not actually drunk. Just back off, because then like anyone in the vicinity will see like, oh, this guy is just faking, and the whole thing will be ruined. So like he has to continue to play drunk while they're like trying to pick him up and like take him back to their place. And I'm just like, what the this scene is played for laughs. And in the end, like Lopez shows up and manages to save him in the nick of time. But one of them does leave with like his hat on his head. See, he was wearing a hat when he was like passed out. She took it off his head and placed it on her head. And like when Lopez was chasing them off, she just left with the hat on. I mean, it's this weird comedic moment, but like these women were gonna abduct this dude. Like, it was it's being played as a joke though. But if it was the other way around, if it was two big dudes and one woman, like if Snipes' role was played by a woman and these were just two big dudes, this wouldn't be that funny. I'm just saying, man, this kind of scene when it's happening to a dude is played for laugh. When it's happening to a woman, it's serious. Like this ain't that funny. Promising Young Woman, like that whole movie is about stuff like this. But like if the roles were reversed, if that were like Promising Young Man, you bet your ass that movie would be a comedy. Just saying. But whatever. Moving on from that. Um, moving on from that little unfortunate bit of comedy. It's after this moment that we're introduced to the secondary antagonist of the film, the Torch. He's played by Chris Cooper. Yeah, he is the serial arsonist who goes up to toll booths and he pours gas into like the chain slot where you drop your money. He pours petrol in there and he threatens to light the people, the toll booth attendant, on fire if they don't pay him. And he lights them on, and after they give him the money, he lights it on fire anyway. And now Charlie and John gotta work together to save the woman in the toll booth. Meanwhile, Jennifer Lopez goes after this guy, and like the he it's John who dives into the through the flames to save her out of there. Like he kicks through the glass like he's Batman or something, man. Like just go see the warehouse fight between Ben Affleck Batman and those thugs and see how he kicks in the glass, and it's like that. And his big ass jacket is like flowing like a cape. It's kind of like that. Apparently that's factually inaccurate that he's able to shoot through the glass and then kick it in because apparently toll booth glass is designed to be bulletproof years ago. But like I don't know, it was designed to be bulletproof in the 90s, I guess. So this must be one of the toll booths that wasn't updated yet. It was probably updated after the fact, but yeah. And there's a bit of controversy that came in with this, so because there was an incident after the movie came out where a bunch of guys actually set a toll booth on fire, following the footsteps of this character. And Chris Cooper says that because of this incident, he kind of regrets starring on the film. But like Chris, thing is, I can understand that you don't want your character, like you don't want yourself associated with some horrific tragedy like this, and the idea that a character you played inspired a horrible act is enough to rattle anybody. And all that to one side, like Chris Cooper in this movie is menacing as fuck. He's pretty great in his role. Like there's a lot of roles he played great. There's how good Chris Cooper is. You wanna know how good of an actor Chris Cooper is? He was cut out of a movie because he was better than all the people acting in it. He had one scene, I think, in this movie called The Grudge. I don't know if it was The Grudge or just Grudge, but there was this one scene they cut his character out of the movie because he was a better actor in that one scene than everyone else was in the rest of the film. Oh, and if you remember, in case you don't wondering who the heck is this Chris Cooper guy, well, he was also in the movie The Kingdom, and he was Norman Osborn in Amazing Spider-Man 2. I mean, he was all gross and goblin-y when we first introduced to him in that movie, but we do see him in those like more fresher days, and he's like on a cane and everything. He does look like regular Chris Cooper, but damn, he looked nasty in that scene though. He looked really nasty. And not only that, but like he was like proper goblin-y look to him. So yeah. Apparently there was like plans in like Amazing Spider-Man 3 where like Norman Osborn would come back, because there was apparently a scene where like his decapitated head was kept in storage, and like there was supposed to be an ending where the Mr. whoever the heck that shady guy was who showed up at the end of Spider-Man 1 and Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, that guy would like tap the glass and be like, it's time to wake up, old friend, at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2. And then Norman Osborn would return in Spider-Man 3 as like this like disembodied head. And I was just thinking, what the heck was up with this movie? I kind of wanted to see that. I kind of wanted to see just where they would have gone with Amazing Spider-Man 3, because apparently there was also supposed to be this like serum that Peter Parker would be given that could bring people back from the dead, and he would decide whether to like bring back Captain Stacy or Gwen Stacy. And that's according to the actor who played Captain Stacy. I can't remember his name, but like I love his comedy stuff is really funny, and he's really funny in the movie Demolition Man, and he plays a great Captain Stacy, well, a believable Captain Stacy in this movie, not comic accurate per se, but like in terms of this movie, he was pretty good. But like moving that to one side, Chris Cooper in this movie, in Money Train, he's generally menacing as the Torch, and like you kind of like want to like, damn, this guy's like he's he's not the primary antagonist, but if this movie was just about like the lives of a couple of transit cops, yeah, like he would be. If it was just about these two transit pods going about their day, no money train subplot or no gambling thing, it would be a case of like, hey, there's this like, well, the serial arsonist going around, and these two he's turned like torching up toll booths, and these two cops need to take him down. It would be something like that. I'm not saying you could necessarily make a whole movie like that. You can't have like a 90-minute story about these two cops trying to take down an arsonist, because his plotline wraps up pretty quickly the second time they encounter him. But like, yeah, he could be a movie villain. This guy on his lonesome could be a movie villain. You just need to add some stuff for him to do instead of just torching up two toll booths or whatever. But moving aside, so yeah, this character, Chris Cooper plays the character really well, and yeah, just wanted to mention that, because yeah, as he makes a good secondary villain. But yeah, move on. So after that, they save the toll booth lady, and whatever, the stuff moves on. There's this hectic moment, like they both make their move on Grace, and they're like arguing with each other. They're like arguing each other about like, man, like you know, I don't know. They end up arguing with each other, but it's through their arguing that they don't see that these two dudes have crept up on them and they're trying to rob them at gunpoint. And then, like, not realizing that these are two cops, then, Charlie and John pull out their guns, and it's this standoff between the cops and the criminals. And they get out of the standoff by, like, arguing with each other to the point that the robbers think that they're crazy because they turn their own guns against one another. And, like, the robbers think, like, damn, these dudes are crazy. And then they bail, which leads to the exchange between the two. Like, hey, you weren't really going to shoot me, were you? No. Were you going to shoot me? No. I mean, you did. You had that Alabama look in your eye. I was like, you're lucky I didn't have a firehouse. Oh shit! This is because as a kid, I had no idea what that meant. It went totally over my head. It totally went over my head that they were referencing like the Civil Rights March, and how Alabama police showed up with like fire hoses and stuff. But like now that I have that, it's a funny line. I mean, maybe some people may not find that funny, but like to be like, I find it funny now because like after like high school history, I understood that reference. I'm like, oh, when I would watch the movie, it would go over my head as a kid. But after like high school years, I watched the movie again, and then I was like, oh, you look at it, never fire hose. It's like, oh, it's like, oh, I understood that reference. You got a little chuckle out of me. So, yeah, as punishment for what happened in the beginning of the movie when they got into a fight with those cops, they have to do a shift on the money train with some of the cops that they beat up, and there's a fight ensues because like this one cop taps Wesley Snipes on the shoulder with a shotgun barrel. He's like, hey, you're standing in my spot. And Wesley Snipes gets rightfully mad because that's insane. You can't just tap someone on the shoulder with a freaking shotgun barrel. Like, are you nuts? Even if your hand isn't on the trigger, that is insane. It's a terrifying idea. Like, oh yeah, there's this thing on your shoulder. It's on your head. It's like, oh, it's a freaking gun. Like, what the heck, man? Are you stupid? Also, there's a little continuity mistake because when the dude goes to tap, John on the shoulder, his hair is like styled forward in like a fringe. Yeah, when the camera cuts back, it's all slicked back, which shows like, oh, this must have been take two. But yeah, so there's a fight between the transit cops and the money train cops again, but this time they come out on top because they have help from Grace, and it causes the money train to run late somehow. And to make up for causing the yeah. So, oh no, wait, yeah, they end up. Yeah, this scene is designed so that it can put Jennifer Lopez and Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes, all three of them in Patterson's office, which can be used as a setup for a scene that'll happen later in the movie. So yeah, and so it was at this moment that I took note of something. Woody Harrelson in this film has this like glorious mane of hair. Probably one of the last times he had that much hair on his head. But point is, I'm sure no cop would be allowed to have that much freaking hair. Like outside of like female cops, but no male cop would be allowed to have that much hair on his head. Like, wouldn't there be like regulations for like how police are supposed to look and all that? Like, but I guess it kind of works here because he's not a normal cop. He's a transit cop who like goes undercover now and then. So he's probably given a certain amount of leeway, kind of like Riggs and Lethal Weapon, like, but whatever. Yeah, they all went up in pants and dolphins, and it isn't until after like he's yelled at them and like, you're dismissed, that like Charlie points out like, hey, whatever happened to that money train model that was on your desk, and John was like, oh yeah, man, I was thinking the same thing. I looked over, I saw I wasn't there. I was heartbroken, man. And are you telling me he didn't notice that his little money train model was gone until they pointed it out? Are you kidding me? You seriously telling me that this dude, this inner retentive guy, didn't notice that his favorite little money train model that he monologues with was gone until someone pointed it out? Like, I mean, it's been a few days since they took the damn thing. The thing that, plus it's not like it's on some far shelf somewhere. No, it's right in front of his desk. He would see it. He would have noticed the very next day that it wasn't there anymore. Like, I get he probably doesn't play with it every day, but damn, dude. He would, the way he was touching it when he was monologuing, you could tell he does play with it now and then. Like, but he would totally notice that it was gone. Are you kidding? Telling me he didn't notice till a couple days later when someone pointed out, hey, whatever happened to that money train model? And you see him looking over at the desk like, wait, what the? It's gone? Man, whatever, but whatever, man. So John, Wesley Snipes' character has this trigger, kind of like Hancock. And whenever someone calls his brother like a fuck up, he gets mad. Like he gets mad and he like rushes to defend him. And but don't be fooled by Woody Harrelson's character in this movie. He is a fuck up in a sense because he messes up repeatedly. The thing is, he's a fuck up, but he's not a loser. I think I explained this in another movie because he's a fuck up in the sense that he'll mess up repeatedly. He'll repeatedly make mistakes, but he will try to fix the mistake somehow. He will try. He's not a loser. He's not a guy who fucks up and just sits there stewing in the screw up. So like, yeah, he messed up repeatedly, but he does get up and try to do something about it. So, except the latest screw up that he gets into is huge because, not only did he lose the money that John gave him to pay back his gambler, not only that, but like, this thing is like this time it's not his fault. It's not entirely his fault because like, yeah, he lost the money, but this time it's not his fault. Yet Snipes' character has been burned in the past by this character and his lies. He doesn't even want to believe him here. He's just straight up says when he tries to tell him what happened to the money, and this is actually what happened. He tries to tell him like, hey man, I was on the train and I got robbed. Like it happens. Like even cops get robbed. Like I've been robbed. Like I'm no cop, I'm an ordinary citizen, but like, yeah, you can just be going about your business and then out of nowhere you realize you've been robbed. It does happen. Like, and he doesn't want to believe him. Like, it's like, man, I've heard so many excuses. I've seen so many moments where you've lost money, you've bet money or whatever hell. I just don't want to hear it anymore. Like, I don't even want to hear whatever reason you've conjured up. I don't want to hear it. Just leave me be. And it's at this point in the story that the torch returns. And I noticed at this point that he has his own theme. Like it's something, it's kind of like the way it plays. It's like, it's a way to signify danger. Like, I can't recreate that noise, but it's like, it's something you would play in a movie to signify that something dangerous is about to happen. And I like how music actually adds to these scenes. Like if you were to mute all the tracks out, it would just be him coming into the frame. But if you play the sound and then the song plays and then you see his hand tapping on the glass, like his burnt hand, and it's like, oh no, it's so-and-so. Like, yeah. So, yeah. Eventually John and, Charlie chase the torch down, and this is nuts, basically, because the torch doesn't, burn down the toll booth. They're able to get to him beforehand, but like, Charlie clearly has been drinking, because he runs into like this crowd of people to get at the torch, and he opens fire on him while he's amidst this crowd of people. And like, what the heck, man? Like later, even Patterson points out, yeah, Patterson is the bad guy in this film, but he does have a point when he points out, like, what the hell is wrong with you? You could have blown away like a dozen people. Like, you're firing into a crowd of people to get one guy. Like, what the heck, man? Not only that, but when he gets out on the street, he doesn't fire into a crowd again. He fires into the air, and it startles like this horse, and the horse runs, and it almost runs over these two kids. Yeah, he saves the two kids, but damn, man, you don't get points for cleaning up a mess that you made. Like, okay, you do get points for cleaning up a mess you made, but like, it's like, how do I rephrase this? You don't get points for putting out a fire if you're the one who started it, basically. So yeah, eventually John takes down the torch. The torch gets set alight by his own petrol and run over by a train. And it's like there's this line where right before he gets set alight, he has a gun trained on John, and he asks him, "You know what happens when you pair with fire?" And he looks down, sees this trail of petrol leading to him, and then Snipes goes, "You get burned." And he sparks this trail of gas going all the way to the guy, and whoosh, lights up, hit by a train. And is the action in this movie is pretty good. We don't yet in this movie. It isn't until later in the film that we see Snipes like doing his usual martial arts stuff, but like we do see some pretty solid action throughout this film. Whether it be them chasing down the torch, or them getting into a fisticuff with the other money train cops. Movie steadily picks up in terms of action. Like it starts off like a regular crime film, but then towards the end, like the action really ramps up when the actual like money train stuff gets put in motion. So yeah. And after the torch is taken down, you see Charlie's at a really low point, and it seems it can't get any worse. It seems like it just can't get any worse. He lost his money, he's lost his brother's trust. Right at that point, like Patterson shows up, and it shows him like, man, you ain't even begun to hit rock bottom yet. And so he tells him, sure, he comes seemingly as an ally, but really he's here for his own reasons. He comes to be like, yeah, I can't make you look like a hero, but I can help you out of here, man. Basically, the department looks out for its own. I can somewhat get you out of this hole. And like, all you got to do is ask, like, you think, okay, this is it. This is going to be the moment where Charlie's character swallows his pride, and he's like, okay, man, I can see that I've messed up. I can see that I need help. All right, help me. I know that even though I don't like you, even though I can't stand the idea of like you helping me, like I do need your help. All right. Like I do want to keep my job and all that. Like, help me. But thing is, and he would have gotten it. He would have, like, Charlie would have said, like, please help me or whatever. But Patterson just had to take that one step further. Because, like, Charlie was sitting down and, like, he wanted to stand up so he could ask him properly. But, like, then Patterson was like, no, from down there. Like, he basically wanted him to stay in that seated position. He wanted to continuously, like, look down on him from where he was standing. He wanted him basically to beg. He basically saying, asking me for help down there, like from where you're sitting. Don't stand up on like so we can be on even footing. Ask me while you're on the ground, at right where you are. Like, man, oh, you want to hear the words? You want me to ask you for help from this position? You want to hear me beg? Basically, that's what he wanted. He's like, man, screw you. And he's like, you can kiss your own ass goodbye, man. Like, so he fires him. And I don't like agreeing with the bad guy here. I really don't, but justifiably so. You fired a gun into a crowd of people. You showed up to work drunk. Man, he had plenty of ground to fire you, but like, still, the way he does it is kind of messed up. But like, yeah. So he tries to, like, John steps in and he tries like, hey man, just let me talk to him, man. Like, just let me try and sort this out. And Charlie at this point is like, no man, I don't care. Like, screw this. Let him fire me. I don't give a damn. Like, and so John is trying to step up for Charlie. And Patterson's like, man, why are you bothering, man? Like, he's a screw up. It's like, excuse me. And that's the one that triggers him. And he almost wants to fight Patterson then and there. And it is this line from Snipes where he goes, hey, look, this ain't your little glass palace, all right? You come over here, I'll bust your ass. Like, and Patterson claps back with like, go ahead, take a bite out of me. You be licking your asshole to get the taste out of your mouth. What the hell? I'm watching this. Like, wait, what? Wait, what? Does this make sense? Does this make sense to y'all? Like, to the people listening, does that make any sense? Take a bite out of me. You be licking your ass to what? And weirdly enough, that's what gets John fired too. He calls him an SOB, and like Patterson is like, that's it. You're busted, man. Like, I'll send a uniform down to pick up my hardware. like I'll send a uniform cop down to pick up the badges that you two are wearing, and he's still mad. He's still hopped up to Snipes' character. Is like, hey man, you ain't gotta send nobody. You just come get it yourself. Like I got it right here, man. You want the badge? Come get it yourself. Like be a man. Don't be walking away. Don't be sending nobody. Like you want it so bad, come get it. Come get it. I dare you to try to take this from me. Come on. So really, I don't think you can just fire someone on the spot like that for no reason. I don't think you can. Isn't there like paperwork and stuff and forms or whatever you got to fill out? Isn't there a union for cops? I mean, wouldn't it? Isn't there a union that prevents this sort of thing? You can't really fire someone on a whim. But yeah. Once defending his brother gets him fired from his job, like John has had enough. Like he's had it. Like this has been building and building. So he finally blows up on Charlie and he unloads what has to be years of pent up hostility on him. While basically telling him like they're not brothers, like the speech where he goes like, we're not brothers, we don't act alike, we don't think alike, we damn sure don't look alike. Ever since we were kids, I've been carrying you on my back. I wipe your nose, I clean up your messes. Now I'm supposed to give up my badge for you? No. This is shaking time. I love that line. Like, this is shaking time. What the heck is shaking time? I don't know who wrote this. I don't know who wrote this, but whoever wrote this, man, like he wrote this in a pretty. Some of this stuff is just hilarious, man. It's not even trying to be funny. Like this is a serious thing. He's like, "No, this is shaking time." Like just whatever, man. Like he just tells him he can just get out of his life. But yeah, and now Charlie's at a real. Remember, I said like he hasn't begun to hit bottom yet. Earlier in that scene, now he's hit bottom. He's lost his. He was just like he's lost his job. He's lost his chances at a girl. He's lost his brother. He's got nothing. He's got nothing to lose. Having lost everything and needing to get money real bad, he's officially reached rock bottom and now has the motivation to rob the money train because he's not solely being pushed by greed. It's not just a thing where like, well, I want the money because I want that money. It's a case of like, yeah, I want that money so I can pay back the dude I owe money to so he doesn't take it out on people I care about because he explained like, okay, yeah, I know you don't have money, but like sometimes some ways that to motivate people to get the money by any means, I don't go after them because going after them means they can't give me my money. I tend to go after people they care about. That could be a wife, a child, or a brother. It's like you, and now it's like Charlie is robbing this train not just out of greed or to stick it to Parasite, but he's also robbing this train so he can get the money to pay back this gambler so he can save his own brother. It's like, all these years, dude has been looking out for me. Now it's time to like, pay him back somehow and like keep him out of the fire. But yeah. Yeah, Jennifer Lopez kind of disappears. Like after the scene where like she and John and Charlie fight the transit cops, she kind of just exits the movie, reappearing every now and then to like, get so that she can get with John, basically. Yeah, she like reappears now and then, ultimately so she can become the love interest for like Wesley Snipes' character. Like, and it seemed like she was playing them both in a way, trying to find out which was the better choice before ultimately deciding like, okay, I am definitely with, Wesley Snipes' character. I'm definitely going with John when they have like this little sparring match in the gym. But like, yeah, it was weird though, because she seemed to be accepting both of their advances, like, testing the water, seeing, who, which was the better option. And we do get some more of that, like that trigger where John is triggered when somebody calls his brother like a screw up. Cause like she says it like while they're having the sparring session and he just lets one like clocks her with a right, like bah, sends her sprawling to the ground like, oh damn. No man, I didn't mean that. Sorry. Like just, it, and the story of how they became brothers is actually pretty good. It's like it's kind of funny. There's so much of this movie that's kind of funny. It's like, so one of the other transit cops asked him like, so how is it that you got a white brother, man? He's like, man, I told you this story already. I was taking out the trash. I heard this one trash can making noise. Oh, so you found him? Yeah, I found him, man. Like, you didn't feed him, did you? Nah, I didn't feed him, man. Like my mom fed him. It's like, oh, good, because once you feed him, you can't get rid of him. He's like saying it like he a lost puppy or something. Oh, jeez, man. Whatever. This movie, man. This movie. The film after, like, once this starts, once the actual like robbery kicks into gear, becomes a chain movie, a chase movie, chase movie like Speed or Runaway Train, with the cops working to stop the stolen train. And my favorite scene in the movie happens. The train is taking on this army of cops and their barricade. It reminds me of like the scene in Speed where the bus has to jump the freeway, and it's awesome building this attention. Also, later in Speed, when the train like speeds up so that it can get through all those tracks, those unfinished tracks and all that. Yeah, it's kind of like that. It kind of reminds me of that. So like it's these awesome tension filled moments. Like you have this army of cops all lined up to shoot at this train. This army of cops lined up to shoot at this armored train. Like, oh yeah, that's gonna work, buddy. And that barricade just plows through, and this triumphant music kicks in when they do. It's like do 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 do, and then on the radio you see Jennifer Lopez listening in, and the radio's like, "You're not gonna believe this, but like the money train just tore through the barricade," and she's like, "Yes!" Oh, dude, because she knows what's up. She knows that Charlie and John are on the train because like Charlie let John know in the film like, yeah, he gave him this present. It's the little toy train that he stole, and that clued John in like, damn, he's actually gonna do it. Like he's gonna rob the money train. Gotta go stop. And then goes to stop him, and she knows like they're both on the train now. There's this this is ridiculous exchange between Charlie and Patterson when he's on the train. Like he contacts the radio. He's like, to the people, like she's trying to steal the money train. Shut it down now. And he grabs the chain and he answers in this like weird accent. He's like, what's going on? And the Patterson hits him with this threat, like, if you don't do this, if you don't stop, I will rip a hole in your throat and suck your heart out and eat it. What the hell? This is a weirdo, man. This guy is a weirdo. Like, what the hell kind of threat is that? I will rip a hole in your what the man. Moving on. Um, Charlie proves that the two brothers reconcile throughout all this chaos. They reconcile amidst all this shooting and yelling and screaming and like fighting amongst themselves. And like Charlie proves that while he may at times screw up, he's not a loser. He acknowledges that this whole thing is his mess up and it's his responsibility to fix. Not John, not anyone else. A loser would simply screw up and sit there stewing in it, or be more than happy to let someone else fix their problems without taking responsibility. But he accepts like, yeah, this is his fault and he wants to change. He's trying to change. This is his attempt to change. This is the biggest thing he's done to further that change. And yeah, after they come to the decision like, oh yeah, we have a way out that's gonna save this train that we're ramming. This man, there's a scene before that. So the money train has canceled out its brakes and it's barreling ahead. So the problem is there's a passenger train in front of them and they're ramming into it because they're going at high speed and the train train ahead of them can't possibly go faster because even the conductor's like, the other train's too fast. They're gonna bump us off the track. We're dead. You hear me? Dead. And Patterson set this train up to line up with the money train to like, yeah, like they'll stop once they see the other train in front of them. They'll stop. And this guy in the room with him, his right hand guy's like, sir, but what if the money train can't stop? People could die. And Patterson just gives the most villainy line ever, and he's like, then that's what we live with. Are you kidding me, man? Realize if people die during this, like you're out of a job, right? It's gonna circle back like, oh yeah, you had a chance to clear the tracks so that this train could get through, but you put a passenger train at risk putting it there. Like, it's gonna get back to you eventually, and like you're gonna be out of a job. You don't just get to live with that, man. You can't just be like, oh, and that's what we live with. Like, just what the heck, man? This freaking guy. But yeah, the destruction of the money train has to be the second best derailment of a train I've ever seen. Given all like the flips it does and the destruction it causes, like it's an epic scene, man. Like disaster movie level, destruction. And the first, I say the second best derailment. The first being Die Hard 3, where like the train like jumped the track, it took out columns, straight enough, no one died. Like I don't know, I don't understand how that. This train jumped the track, took out columns, did somersaults, and all that. And like, I get no one died, nobody was on it, but like, nobody at the train station, no one at the train station got even scratched up, nothing, not even smoke inhalation damage from other. all the debris and dust and stuff. Nothing. Get out of here. Uh, uh. There's been this running gag throughout the film about like when one of the brothers has a problem with somebody, like they set out to hit him. The one brother stops him and is like, "No, you're not gonna hit him." Like, why not? Because I'm gonna hit him. And then the other brother hits him. But in this scene, like Charlie wants to hit the guy. Snipes stops him. He's like, "Cause I'm gonna hit him." And then like he's like, "No, no, you're not gonna hit him." And at the same time, they're like, "We both hit him," and they both knock Patterson. They sock him right in the face and send him flying. And ultimately leads to Grace showing up and arresting him, and because for endangering innocent people's lives and causing all this chaos to begin with. Like he almost got people killed. So yeah, and as he's arresting, remember I said the whole reason Grace is in that room is to set up a scene that happens later. This is that scene, because in the scene where they were in his office, he's like, he didn't say like her name is Grace Santiago, but he didn't say Santiago like a normal person would. He said it like he's like, how, and like, are they lucky, Officer Santiago? Like, what do you think, Officer Santiago? Like, it was weird how he kept saying that, and you could see like the way she was looking at him, like, what the hell is wrong with this dude? Like, and it was so odd. And it sets up this scene later in the movie, like right here at this point where she arrests him. He's like, "Who are you?" And she's like, "Oh, you don't remember me, Officer Santiago." She takes him to jail. She arrests him, holds him responsible for all his actions, and yeah, the film closes with the two of them like, it's celebrating New Year, because this movie kicks off on Christmas apparently, and like it ends on New Year's Eve. So it's like, yeah, they're celebrating New Year, and everything's good, fireworks going off, confetti everywhere, and then John realizes, wait a minute, what's this? What's this like big bulge on your stomach? What's going on? He opens up dude's jacket and he realizes it's full of money. Like he took money off the money train. He's like, oh no, man! Like I knew you'd overreact. What do you mean overreact? Like, and they start bickering, and they bicker all the way. Like they just walk off in the direction of this giant billboard that looks like a huge sunset, and it's like it kind of it's this sun. It's advertising this island getaway, which pays off their fantasy of getting away to such an island with a bunch of money. In the way, like they got a happy ending. They got to walk away from all this stuff. Not just walk away, but walk away with a bunch of money, enough money to live their island dream. Like traveling from island to island, and ends with them walking off into the sunset. Not literally, but in like a metaphorical sense, as like the Shaggy song, the train's coming, baby. The train's coming now. Plays in the background. It's a great ending. Like it's funny because they're bickering the whole way there. You could kind of hear them yelling at each other through the credits. But yeah. It's this movie. Final thoughts, man. It's a 9 out of 10 movie, man. It's a solid 9 out of 10. Good action, entertaining co-leads. It's not a lead and like the sidekick. They're co-leads in this one. There's a menacing secondary antagonist in Chris Cooper as the Torch. A detestable primary antagonist in Patterson. Great theme song by Shaggy as Trains Coming works both to fit the mood of the story in both the beginning and the end. And this film it's definitely got some serious rewatch value to it. It's a 90s classic. I definitely really enjoyed watching this movie. I would rewatch it. I would recommend. It's awesome watch, just totally check it out. Wesley Snipes does really great as the character of John, like the older brother looking after a younger sibling. And Woody Harrelson plays the role of like the younger sibling who has this gambling problem he has to get through, and he's believable when he gets to the point like, damn, man, I've hit rock bottom. I've lost everything. Well, there's no other option but for me to do this. And it's done really, he executes it really well. It's like, really? There is no other option. This is all I got. This crazy idea that I have is all I got left. And you can see, like, he can see the pain that all his actions are causing. And him robbing the train is his attempts to remedy that, not just his attempts to get him out of a hole, but an attempt to solve not just his, but like problems that he's made for others. But yeah, Jennifer Lopez as the love interest she works as the love interest for like John. I didn't like that she seemed to be playing both brothers in the beginning, but like, yeah. So yeah, she does surprisingly good. You know, back in the day when like having Jennifer Lopez in the movie wasn't this huge eye rolling moment that it is now. Apparently, with movies like Atlas and like The Mother, and like people will praise her and like Hustlers, but ever since then it's like, man, what is going on? What is it with J Lo? What is it? Jenny from the Block, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing on my screen? Like, that just seems to be the attitude nowadays. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it, but like, I don't watch a lot of JLo movies, so I can't really comment on that. But like, yeah, she was good in this movie. Robert Blake as Patterson in this movie was, man, you hate this mother. You understand why the two heroes don't like him, and you just want him to come up and say, like, man, just sock the guy right here and now. Like you wouldn't put up with working for this dude, but you'd have to because he's your boss. Like, he's your boss. He could fire you at any moment if you try to talk back to him. So like, he's the boss you have to put up with, but you don't want to put up with. Under no circumstances do you want to just continue putting up with this bullshit. But moving on, yeah. So this movie had plenty of great action, good music, and it was a solid, you know, second movie for like Snipes and Harrelson after White Man Can't Jump. So yeah, it's a great movie. Yeah, 90s classic. Would recommend. This has been another episode of Moonlight Kingdom Reviews. So, Moonlight citizens, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all them nice things. And yeah, thing about trains is, doesn't matter where they're going or who's on them. What matters is whether or not you decide to get on. Think about that. Trains coming, baby. Train.